Good morning. Thanks for joining us for Yoga from the Park. I'm Janet Casson here at beautiful, sunny Grays Lake this morning. And today's practice, I'm going to invite us to play around with an idea offered by Tonglen meditation. This is a practice I will admit I've been rather resistant to throughout my life because the practice of Tonglen, which is a Buddhist practice, invites us to breathe in the toxicity or bad, negative thoughts or things going on around us, trusting that we have what it takes to transform that, neutralize it, alchemize it, whatever words you'd like to think of, and then with our exhale, sending its counterpart out into the world. And I think for a long time in my life, I felt like I didn't have what it took to do that. I was like, I can't breathe in the negative energy because I don't know that I can change it. I just don't want that. I don't want the bad stuff. So I would resist breathing it in. But I think that this time in my life, and potentially this time in our world, is one where we don't have the luxury to say that. We have what it takes. We have the fortitude. We can breathe in what's going on around us. We can sit with what's happening and allow it to transform and decide what we want to offer out as our offering to our community, to ourselves, however you think about it. Now, I know you came here to do yoga, and I promise this does play into our yoga practice. You can decide whether with each breath, when you find yourself in a pose that might be very challenging, you could breathe in that challenge. Bear witness to it. Allow yourself to struggle a little bit. And then notice your own inner strength and capability to move on from there. Oh, I made it through that whole pose that she made us hold for a really long time. Or, wow, I didn't know that I could be in that position at all until we got into it by this certain way. So allowing ourselves to be surprised by our own inner strength and inspired by what we might be able to do with it. That's what I invite us to explore today. And if you just came here to breathe and move, you'll also get that option. Okay, so let's come forward onto hands and knees. I'm going to turn profile to you just so you can see what's up. We'll start with poses that might be very familiar to all of us, just with some cat and cow. So as we inhale, we allow the belly to expand towards the ground, lifting the collarbones, lifting the sitting bones. And as you exhale, press the ground away from you, tuck your chin and tuck your tailbone. So inhaling to expand the front body, and exhaling to round the back body. Now inhale into a neutral spine, so neither cat nor cow, just reaching the tailbone and the top of the head in opposite directions. Take your right leg back behind you with your toes tucking on the mat and press very firmly into the heel. Now if you press firmly, you may find that your whole pose shifts back, that your shoulders are no longer over your wrists. So find both the push back through the heel and the drawing forward of the collarbones. And notice how moving in two directions invites your waist to lengthen and spool, and your whole center gets a little more sturdy. Now take your right leg and lift it just parallel to the floor. Don't go any higher than the height of your glute. Then option here to take your left arm out in front of you, reaching opposite hand and foot in opposite directions. Take a deep breath in, lift a little higher through the belly. Exhale, draw your elbow and knee together, rounding your spine like cat pose. We'll inhale to reach out, heel and fingertips, and exhale, draw in. One more time, inhaling and exhaling. Now inhale to reach your hand and your foot away. Place the hand and the toes back down on the ground, so keep the right leg extending. Take your left heel and spin it out behind you, just like a little kickstand. And then take your right heel and spin it down to the ground, so the right foot is flat on the floor. I'm not just on the inner edge of the foot. Press into the fingertips of your left hand so you don't crash into the fine bones of the wrist, and then reach your right arm up towards the sky. taking a modified version of side plank, Vashisthasana. There are some tendencies here where we might find a little back bend, and that's okay if that feels good, but also keep drawing the tailbone down towards your right heel, reaching long across the chest, long through the arms. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, take the right arm up overhead and place the hand and the knee back down to the ground, coming clearly onto all fours. Let's clear the slate here, inhaling with a cow pose. And exhale, rounding to cat. Now inhale to neutral with your spine and extend your left leg out long, pushing out through the heel, so finding the resistance of the ground first, how much you can press back. At the same time, draw forward. So it's that same opposition here that we explored on the other side, and the same idea of our Tonglen practice, that we can meet whatever negativity with equal and perhaps greater enthusiasm in the positive direction. Lift your left leg parallel to the ground. Take your right arm out in front of you. Deep breath in. Exhale, draw the elbow and knee together. Inhale to reach out. Exhale, gather in. Last time, inhaling and exhaling. And this time, as you inhale, reach the hand and the foot away. Place the hand down and the toes down. Right foot comes out behind you. Left heel spins down to the right. The whole foot is flat on the ground. And then the left arm reaches up towards the sky. Maybe you'll gaze right up at the sun. Notice if you start to sink in any of your joints, so slumping into the shoulders or the hips of the supporting limbs is something that happens often, but you can find that strength right in your center to lift up. And then go ahead and let the top arm reach up and over, bringing hands and knees back down to the ground. Then tuck the toes, lift your hips. Come to downward facing dog. Settle into your down dog for a moment or two. If that means pedaling out the feet or shifting through the shoulders, feel free to do that. It may be that you can settle right into stillness and allow this pose to evolve simply with the breath. We don't need to force changes to happen. I'm just witnessing the way that things transform and knowing that we have the wherewithal to stay present for those transformations. We're very powerful in that way. Let's inhale forward into plank pose. Gently lower your knees to the floor and then bring your chest to the floor right between your thumbs. Lift into a small cobra, and you can check that it is a small cobra by lifting the hands up off of the ground, so that this is the work of the upper back. Let your toenails be heavy, your thighs grounded. And then release hands underneath the shoulders. Rather than shrugging up off of the ground, lift your sitting bones first. So a reverse inchworm kind of thing. And then with the low belly and inner thighs really grounded, we can push from hips to shoulders. Everything comes up at once. Then we hinge back like we're coming to child's pose, back to downward facing dog. Walk your feet slowly forward. Allow your feet to feel the texture of what you're standing on. Be very aware. And then coming into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Let your legs be like pillars beneath you. Sitting bones right above the heels. Lift and spread the toes. Get very bright through your feet. Then place your hands onto your shins. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Once more like that. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands by your side. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Allow your knees to bend to soften the landing. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, sweep wide, come up. Exhale, hands to your side. This is our half sun salutation. We'll do just one more. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale, sweep your arms wide. Exhale, grow taller as your arms come to your sides. Inhale, lift your arms up. Breathe in that fresh air. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. This time, fingertips to the ground. Step your right foot back as your chest reaches forward. So getting long in two directions. Then we'll plant the palms and step directly into downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank pose. Exhale, lower your knees to the mat and then bring your upper body down, letting your elbows hug in towards your ribs. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, release. Lift the sitting bones first. Engage through the low belly so that the upper body doesn't have to work quite so hard to peel you up off the ground. And then back you go to downward facing dog. Inhale your right leg up high for a down dog split. Exhale, step that foot forward between your hands. Gently lower your back knee, untuck the toes, lift your arms up alongside your ears for Anjanayasana. Find a scissoring of the inner thighs that allows your pelvis to stay nice and level. And what I mean by that is you might find you can come very low, but the left hip ends up lagging behind. So instead, scissor the inner thighs so that the hips can work as a team. Then we don't split ourselves in half. And stay nice and grounded, nice and centered. Now take your left hand down to the earth on the inside of the right leg. Take your right hand to your right thigh and then press the hand into the thigh a little bit to get a deeper twist. Option here to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. And as we twist, you may find that your left hip sinks. So invite the left hip to lift. Again, keeping the pelvis really level, and let the twist happen from the waist up. So letting the left rib cage turn towards the right inner thigh and hug the right inner thigh in towards the midline. Take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, unwind, bring your hands to the ground around your front foot. If your back knee is not lifted, go ahead and do so. And then step your back foot forward and fold. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release. Inhale, sweep the arms wide. Exhale, hands to your sides. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Hands to the ground, step your left foot far back into a lunge. Pausing here for just a moment to find that long reach through the back leg. Then plant the palms, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale, lower your knees and then your upper body, one piece. Untuck the toes, lift your chest, small cobra. Pausing here again just to find this work in the upper back. Not a squeezing of the shoulder blades, but definitely an engagement there so that the heart can press forward. Then release the hands down, let the head come down, and lift up through hands and knees. Back almost like you're coming to child's pose to downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Exhale to step your left foot forward between your hands. Gently lower the back knee onto the floor and bring your arms up alongside your ears. Again, find balance in the hips here. It may take a little bit of backing out and then sinking down again. One deep breath to lift up. And exhale to release your right hand to the ground, left hand onto your thigh. Start to turn your torso. You can keep the back knee grounded or tuck the back toes and lift the knee. Turning, turning, turning as deeply as you can from the navel up. So the right thigh stays very steady, reaching back. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, release your hand to the ground. Step the back foot forward and fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale, sweep your arms wide, all the way up. Exhale, hands to your sides. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the ground, step back, maybe many small steps or maybe one big step with each foot. Back to your downward facing dog. Come forward to plank just to measure off the length of your down dog. Notice that you have your hands right underneath the shoulders and the heels resisting back. Then, as though there are puppet strings attached to your sitting bones, lift your sitting bones high, hinging right at the hips. We'll come forward again into plank pose. This time, let's lower to the ground in one piece. See if everything can arrive at once. Untuck your toes, lift your chest, small cobra, maybe a little pressure in the hands this time to come up higher. And release chest and forehead down. Option to come up through hands and knees or tuck the toes, press back up through plank and downward facing dog. Walk your feet just a little bit forward. So a slightly shorter down dog here. Bend both of your knees and then swivel your heels to your left. See if you can ground both of your feet. Then come up onto the balls of the feet and swivel your heels to the right. And do that again, one time to each side. Inhaling to center, exhaling to the left, inhaling to the center, and exhaling to the right. Now inhale back up to the center and walk yourself back to a down dog that feels lengthy. The heels might not be grounded, and that's okay. We're trying to find a length in the down dog that challenges the length of the backs of our legs. Let's inhale to lift the right leg up high. From the right heel to the hands, one long line of energy. Take a deep breath in. And use your exhale to engage the belly. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Turn your back heel down to the floor, and you can look underneath your pose. And rather than heel to heel alignment, which is what we often talk about in Warrior One, we're going to allow each foot to have its own lane. So make your stance a little bit wider from right to left so that the heels don't intersect. Right foot is pointing forward, left foot's angling slightly forward, and then rise up first with your hands on your hips to see how much balance you can find in the pelvis. Now, because that back heel is down, we won't be able to square the hips entirely, but again, we're very twisty from the waist up, so turn your left rib cage and the left side of your chest and your shoulder girdle. Turn everything to face the front. Lift your arms up alongside your ears. Put even weight into your back heel and the front of your foot. So we get very steady through that back leg. And when we ground more through the back heel, we might be able to bend the front knee deeper. Now bring your hands together at your heart. Tip yourself forward. Come up onto the back ball of the foot so the heel is lifted, and little bend in the back knee to spring yourself forward, coming into Warrior Three. Left toes are pointing down towards the floor. Chest and thigh are both parallel to the ground. Option to take some arm variations if you choose. Arms out to a T, or down by your hips, or even superhero. Then bend your standing leg, drop back into Warrior One, and open wide to Warrior Two. Stay here for a few breaths. If this feels very challenging, breathe in that challenge. Know that you are up for it. Allow the burn of the muscles or the achiness, whatever it is, allow it to be felt so that you know you're in a body that is living and breathing and pulsing and moving and wanting still to learn new things. Take your left hand down your back leg, right arm up and over the ear. Feel free to bend your front knee a little more deeply. And in fact, let's all look down towards our left foot. Traditionally in this pose, we look up underneath the top arm, but see about keeping things a little steadier and a little less back bendy by just looking down. And then we'll cartwheel the hands to the earth around the front foot, turn the back heel up, and step right into plank pose. Now the option here to do what you want with these next 3 breaths. You can come straight to down dog, or you could move through a vinyasa, lowering to the ground, lifting into a small back bend, and then pressing back to your downward facing dog. Take your left leg up high for a down dog split. Exhale to step the foot forward between your hands. Look under your pose, turn your back heel down. Get really grounded through that whole foot, allowing pinky toe edge, big toe edge, and the center of the heel to find groundedness. And allow that foot to have its own lane. No need to intersect the heels here. Walk your hands up onto your front thigh. As much as the hips are willing to turn to the front of your space, let them do that, but not at the sacrifice of the back knee. Turn your rib cage more, your chest and torso, and then lift your arms up alongside your ears. The arms lift because it gives even more capacity to our lungs to breathe more deeply. All of the yoga postures are really meant to put us in challenging positions and see if we can still take a deep breath. And that translates very clearly to life. If, when you find yourself in a challenging circumstance, can you still breathe? Then you know you're doing yoga. Bring your hands to your heart, turn your back heel up, tip the torso forward so there's a long axis, and then pitch yourself all the way forward into Warrior 3. Notice the tendency to sink into that standing hip. Lift up out of that as best you can. It requires putting more energy into the lifted limbs. And then feel free to take a variety of expressions with the arms as we land lightly back into Warrior 1 and then open to Warrior 2. And for most of us, there is a longer stance from Warrior 1 to 2. You may find here that you do have heel to heel or even heel to arch alignment. Rather than letting gravity sink you down deeper, know that this is from your own strength that you are sitting deeply in this pose. And the deep breaths that you cultivate, just allow it to be even more sustainable. Bring your right hand down, left arm up and over. Gazing down towards your right foot, very little pressure into that right hand. Then cartwheel your hands around to your left foot, turn the back heel up, and step back to downward dog. Now from this down dog, step your right foot about halfway up your space, so not quite to your hands. Turn the toes out to your right, and just as we did before, we're going to swivel the left heel way over to the left. Now try to find a long line from the back heel all the way to the left shoulder, and then turn your torso to the right. It might start to feel very heavy in the left leg and particularly in the left arm, so try to keep lifting up out of that. Bring your right arm up towards the sky, and then turn your right palm to face the top of your mat and reach up and over your ear. Find a long rainbow arc through the right side body. Another modified version of Vashisthasana. And then bring the hand down and step right into plank pose. And we'll go to the other side right away. So step that left foot halfway forward, toes pointing to the left side of your space. Swivel your right heel down. It may be that you're on the pinky toe edge of that foot, but if you can plant more of the foot to the ground, you'll have a little more surface to balance on. Pressing into the right fingertips, again, not wanting to crash into the wrists, and then left arm lifts up towards the sky. You can gaze up towards your left thumb if you're not looking directly into the sun. And then turn your left palm to face forward and reach up and over the ear. Allow your hips to lift a little bit higher to amplify that arc through the left side body. And then place the hand down, come back to plank, and lower your knees. Bring big toes together, knees wide, and sit down into child's pose just for a moment. If child's pose does not feel like a place where you can catch your breath, then just stay up on forearms, or even feel free to stay seated up on your shins. This resting posture is meant to be that, a resting posture. So find one that allows you to rest. And we're going to give our Vashisthasana, side plank, one more go. So we'll start coming back into down dog. Turn your heels to the right. This down dog is a little bit shorter than what we might typically do. Turning the heels then allows that right foot to be fully grounded. Then I can start to shift my weight a little bit forward, but in my Vashisthasana, I'm still going to be rounded a bit. Feet are stacked, left arm lifts. Now, traditionally, people do this pose fully straight. I'm on the pinky toe side of that right foot, and you're welcome to explore it that way. If I keep my right foot a little closer to me, I can keep the pose a little more buoyant, and then maybe that left leg can lift. Some folks like to draw that lifted leg into tree pose. Some people like to hold on to the big toe with their peace fingers. Some people like to be blown around by the wind like I am. And you might step back and find a wild thing. This is one of the luxuries of practicing outside. All kinds of space to explore, and no furniture to bump into, or not confined by a yoga mat. Highly recommend it. So we'll try the other side, shifting heels over to the left. Maybe that left foot will be fully grounded, in which case your pose will look a little more like a side arc than a side plank. And then a little bend in that standing leg can help create flexibility in the hips. And then turn the torso in whatever shape or expression feels good to you. Option to turn it down into wild thing. Some of you might even have it in your practice to bring both hands to the ground and turn that into wheel pose. We'll get together one day and I'll practice that, okay? For now, bring yourself back, downward facing dog. And lower your knees onto the mat. Come to sit. Soles of the feet on the ground, or excuse me, it's all the way together. Sitting bones on the ground. Coming into Tarasana. Very similar to bound angle pose or Baddha Konasana, but rather than having the heels very close to the pelvis, here we've got more of a diamond shape with the legs. Bring your hands onto the fronts of your shins. Pull with your hands to lift your chest up, and just find the full extension through your spine so that you can find the full capacity of your lungs. Allowing your breath and your heartbeat to settle after what might have been quite a bit of exertion, balancing on your side. Let's inhale to lift the arms up alongside the ears. Exhale, take a twist to your left. Inhale, come back up to center, reach your arms. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, come back up to center And exhale, bring your hands to your shins. You can pull gently with your hands to bow down over your lap. It doesn't matter how low you come. It might feel very accessible to hinge deeply over the hips. If there is a deep challenge in your hips or hamstrings or any other part of you that's feeling taxed in this moment, breathe into that sensation. Don't shy away from it. You have what it takes to experience that fully and to witness yourself coming out on the other side. In fact, it is a very big test of our mental stamina when we can say, oof, this sucks, and I'm gonna breathe it in anyway, and I'm gonna offer out something really wonderful to the person practicing next to me, or to the people walking by here in the park, or offering a good thought out to ourselves even. Come back upright, and then like you're closing a book, bring your hands to the outside of your knees and extend your legs out long. Give them a little shimmy shake. And this, we'll slowly roll ourselves down onto our backs. I won't do that because I want to stay alert for you, but you can roll yourself all the way down, sort of a Pilates move, I think, to one vertebrae at a time, resting the body on the ground. Once you arrive on the ground, allow your feet to come out a little wider than hip distance. Allow your arms to rest alongside your hips, palms facing up. If you are outside, feel free to put your sunglasses on so you can shade your eyes, or put something over your forehead and eyes just to shield them a little bit. Setting yourself up in your Shavasana with just as much care as we do all the rest of our postures, because this one is the one that lets it all sink in. This is where we get to marinate on all of the postures that we've done, all the ideas that we've shared, the experiences that have come up for us individually. Let it settle into your skin and your muscles and your bones. You don't need to remember it with your mind. Your body will hang on to whatever is of benefit to it. So take some time here just to settle the breath and see how completely you can release your effort. How completely you can let go. And I'll let you know when it's time to come up. For now, allow the earth to hold you. And breathe easy. Invite your breath to deepen. Use your breath to bring awareness back into your whole self. If there are residual bits of tension or tightness or even achiness, breathe right into that sensation. Allow your good intention to help it to dissipate. And then send out wishes of ease and peace to your whole self. And one at a time, bend your knees. Place your feet onto the mat. Slowly roll. And press yourself up to a seated position. And join your palms together at your heart. In honor of you and in gratitude to this practice, I bow. Namaste.